Usually when I make a video, I make them because I'm either very passionate about the subject or think that whatever it is needs to be said. However, in this case, no matter how much I think I should talk about it, I really wish it wasn't something that I needed to discuss. I've said time and time again that parasocial relationships and pushing the version of someone you cartographed in your head on them is bad. And the word gets thrown around so much these days that I feel like people have really forgotten what it means. For the most part, when we get down to the true vibes, it comes to projection. If we like someone or their work, we tend to put our emotions and worldviews onto them. We wind up making a one-sided relationship with them because we see so much of them online, or because the content they make is just so good. And even though it's a dummerific thing to do, we all wind up with one of these relationships at some point in time. Even when we know that we should stay whelmed, we often wind up under or over when we find out some new horrific shit about our assumed unproblematic fave. But when we find out what someone we liked, hell, maybe even loved, supposedly did, there's always a choice to be made. Can you support them through this? And more importantly, should you? Hey, hoya out there to all my big brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, and, of course, mommies and daddies. I'm Mark. Recently, Scott Cawthon's campaign donation history was revealed, showing that he made thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of donations to certain politicians. There was speculation about whether it was really that Scott Cawthon or just someone who shared his name. But the outcry and allegations eventually led to Scott himself later confirming that all of it was in fact his in a Reddit thread. Now, before I go any further, I'd like to acknowledge that Scott was allegedly doxxed and had his life and his family's life threatened after this all came to light. Obviously, this is not something I support, and if you dox others or threaten them, I in fact rebuke thee. Do not go out to harass anyone mentioned in this video. We're all adults here, and you should act like one. I'm not here to talk politics or parties, so let me hone in more poignantly on the fact that his caboodles of gamer dollars were being given directly to politicians and their campaigns that avidly work against the best interests of marginalized people. And as a queer person who has been an equally avid FNAF fan since the first game came out and who owns most of them, I have a problem with that. Mostly because that means my LGBT money was going directly into the pockets of people who would much rather I bathe in flower petals and milk and commit ritual game end. I think that this whole situation opens the door for a wider conversation though, and one that I would much rather focus on. Can you really ever separate art from the artist? And if you feel like you can, when and where does it stop? This isn't some yes or no, black and white, villains and knights question that I can really answer for you. Not definitively, in any case. This is a matter of opinion. Hopefully one that's informed, but in the end, it's based on your own morals and educated guesses. The only thing I can do here during this LGBT Pride Month 2021 is to give my personal take. To me, it all comes down to a checklist of a couple of basic questions. First, I ask myself, does their bias show through with their work? In the case of FNAF, I don't think that that's so much an issue. The great thing about having almost no lore in the games themselves and not writing the novels himself is that there aren't really characters to project his views onto. and those who do weren't really under his direct riding thumb. But let's think about another example to demonstrate what exactly I mean. I've said before that I do believe that just about any work can be consumed critically, and so long as you can acknowledge a piece of media's faults and not let yourself be indoctrinated by them, that's great. However, you should also understand that the exposure you give to something will likely introduce others to it, meaning that inevitably someone who does not know or understand the latent issues will consume it. Now, of course, you're not responsible for how others consume media, but you are responsible for who and what you promote to friends and family. Harry Potter, for example, was written by widely known Radfem Turf and Glumpauser J.K. Rowling. Thank goodness her anti-trans rhetoric doesn't show through in Harry Potter, though, that murder mystery of hers with a big scary man who pretends to be a woman to hurt quote-unquote real women is a bit on the nose even for her. But Harry Potter does show some of her other underlying biases. For example, the anti-Semitic caricature of goblins being bankers, going as far as to have the literal Star of David right there in the bank's mosaic tile flooring. Now, not all propaganda is that obvious, so you need to keep an eye out for that sort of stuff when you consume media by any creator, not only less than favorable ones. The next thing I ask myself is, will my support of this support the person that I have issues with? It's the same principle as boycotting something. If a company is doing shady shit, you show your distaste for it by no longer giving them your capital or business until they either change or remove the offending party. Like, for example, Notch is pretty yikes as far as game devs go. I wouldn't want to give that incel my money, but Minecraft is no longer his baby. I'm certain he still gets residuals from the game, but you can buy Funny Block the game without thinking about his lonely mansion posts and slurs every single time. Conversely, for me, when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't think that I can support the franchise while Scott is attached to it. I'm not here to cancel anyone over their political views or their views in matters like abortion. Though, finding out he made a pro-life propaganda game right before FNAF was not exactly what I expected out of this. There's also the fact that we simply do not know what his views on the LGBT community are in the first place. So, at best, there's an argument for ambivalence to the plight that queer people face. Being that his statement for donating to these select politicians was because he looked at their policies and, quote-unquote, felt like they were the best for the job. Vote for whoever you want to. Support whoever you want to with your own money. I can't and would not stop you. I mean, it's literally your constitutional right. Scott has supported both Republicans and Democrats in the past. So, don't misunderstand me when I say that this isn't about seeing his political views at face value and saying, yikes Rooney. It is my decision to support or not support someone after finding out that they either like the idea that at a baseline I should not exist and should be oppressed for aspects that are innately part of me, or that the fact that the people he supports have actively campaigned against equal rights for the LGBT community just does not matter to him. It's my choice, just like it's your decision to stop supporting him or keep supporting him. Even if the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise itself doesn't really showcase anti-LGBT or anti-abortion ideology, and despite the number of Hatsune Miku-made FNAF memes people share, when I purchase his games, books, or merchandise, I would be giving him money to put towards causes I don't believe in and that directly harm me, my friends, and my family. However, as stated in Scott's Reddit thread, it looks like FNAF might be pulling a Mojang after all, with Scott discussing his retirement and possible handover of the franchise to a different company. I think that would probably be a smart move on his part. At the end of the day, a very large contingent of his fanbase are those directly affected by the whack policies and ideologies that his candidates were campaigning for. With that being said, this handover would not allegedly happen until after Security Breach releases, which personally has me conflicted. I love the franchise. I love the designs and gameplay. Hell, FNAF, as a whole, quite literally modeled the current indie gaming climate due to its success. Not to mention that Five Nights at Freddy's is the IP that I think I've made the most art for to show in videos on this channel. I was so excited for Security Breach. But now I don't know if I would even feel comfortable buying it. If I do, I would try to use my enjoyment of it as a way to uplift the queer community. Maybe by hosting a charity stream for the Trevor Project or another LGBT charity while I play it. Or maybe making playthrough videos with friends as a chance to give other queer creators a place to promote themselves. Whatever the case, it's my bridge to burn when I get to it. But with all that being said, what do you think? Do Scott's campaign donations have any bearing on your enjoyment of the game? Have you ever had to drop something because of its creator? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want. As always, you don't have to, but if you do, I'll get to see you in the next video. Sorry if this video is a little bit rough. There's some rough family stuff going on in real life right now, so I'm doing my best. I hope you have a scrapdangulous day. Later, skater! I think the food I ordered is here.